Hello, my name is Lila, and I am just another mother in the Alveary. This isn't Alveary content or anything, but I was in a conversation in the Hive about how different people organize their materials and lesson plans for each year. I promised that I would try to record a video kind of explaining it in more detail, and it's been 2 months. So really sorry if you've been waiting on this, but maybe more of you are in a position where you are thinking about how next year will go and how you'll organize things. Or maybe you're letting yourself think about that for the first time. I really like to think about that in March, but I have to kind of rein it in and focus on the year at hand. So just a little bit of context. I have 3 daughters who are 9, 7, and 4.5, and then a baby son who's 9 months. He was born right before this school year started. So I kind of lucked out this year with a baby year in that my 2 oldest are just 18 months apart, and they were both in 1A. 1A upper, 1A lower, which is 2nd and 3rd grade if you are new to that terminology. And so a lot of the content is shared or exactly the same for those 2 grades, and that's made it a little easier. But I have a system that I've been using for the last few years, and I will just tweak it a little bit to make it work for next year when I hope to level up in terms of independent work for my oldest 2 and kind of add on kindergarten of one ilk or another for my then 5-year-old. If this is something you've been doing for a really long time, if you have lots of grades that you're straddling and lots of ages and lots of kids working independently, then you know more than I do and you have more experience in making a system work. So this may not help, but I would love your secrets. If you're new to the Alveary or kind of wanting something new, then this may help you. And if it doesn't, then don't sweat it. I have been using the Alveary curriculum for the last 3 years, which I believe was the year that they went out of pilot mode, was my oldest daughter's Form 1 year, 1st grade. And we have just loved it. It's been fantastic for me as I've grown as an educator and as I've grown as a Charlotte Mason educator. I just can't say enough good things about what they provide. That said, I do not envy the Alveary team's task in terms of providing something for all of us in our different circumstances. You just will take a look quickly around the Hive and see that there are people with 10 kids and 1 child. There are families combining lots of ages or just trying to do one form straight as it is. There's kind of an analog contingent. I'm a little more on that side. And others who by preference or by number of children or by living overseas really need a lot of this to be digital and work for them by device. So, and not to mention then sort of developmental spectrum, the amount of time that you have devoted to outside activities or kind of different family organizational things, part-time jobs, every kind of thing. The Alveary is doing so much to make this something that's customizable and will work in your circumstances and will give you just a bounty of content and substance to fill however much time you have. But the downside of that for any individual is that you're going to need to put in some work at the beginning of the school year and maybe just the psychological work to just take everything that there is and lay some of it aside and say that is not for us this year, or I cannot do that this term, but I will try to add that on next term. Just organizationally, it does take a good bit of work up front to take what they have provided to fit all of those different needs and sieve it through the circumstances of your own life and students and families' culture. I think I read someone in the Hive call it wrestling the beast to the ground. That's not far off. That's a fantastic metaphor to what kind of happens over a summer. That said, the format has changed a lot from year to year, and it has been more and more, the lesson plan format substance has just been more and more workable. But different from year to year, and I understand that it will be different this coming year as well. I hear that the lesson plans for each term will fit on 1 page, which is really cool and will help a lot with printing. But I am going to be showing you what I do at the end of the 2019-2020 school year. So if you're new to the Alveary for 2021, this isn't something you'll see. It'll probably look totally different. And the reason that I like the system I have is because I'm not too worried about that shaking things up. It should be great, and I can tweak it. So here's a peek into what 2019-2020 has looked like. So July 1st, what I do when the lesson plans are made available is I save everything, all the PDFs of the courses that we will be using. And then I prep an order from Best Value Copy. You will hear a few people mention Best Value Copy because it is the best value that I have found. It's super affordable for color copies, for high quality paper, but it's also kind of got a ridiculously expensive shipping. So you kind of want to have one batch that you're printing up from them. And I found it to be very affordable in spite of the shipping. But sometimes there's coupons where you'll get like a certain amount off. So maybe sign up with them now so that you get that email for when it's time to print things. I use that for binding different things from archive.org, like the geography books that are only digital. And I have it in a nice kind of book-like copy. I've used it for the artist prints on really high quality paper for like 4 copies of each one. And that's been pretty affordable. It's been really affordable. So I'm an analog person in terms of what my school day looks like for the most part. So I just print those out. Here, I'm going to switch the camera, and I should have given you a caveat earlier that I am not a video person. I have never uploaded a video to the internet ever. I don't do Instagram stories. I don't really know. So it's going to be a little choppy. I hope that this is okay. Okay, here's my schoolroom, and this is my giant binder that I put all of the lesson plans in at the start of the school year once they've arrived to me from Best Value, or things that I printed off that we'll be doing a little differently on my home printer. So I just have tabs for every subject that the Alveary puts out. Something like natural history rather, all of the 3 different days worth are all on one page. Are all under one tab, but I have the lesson plans for each thing, and I stick them in here, and I only am dealing with this binder when I'm setting up for my school year and for a little bit during the term prep. So the lesson plans go in there. Then I do the basic work of figuring out the schedule that I'm going to be using from day to day. Alveary has a lot of support for that. And then my system, I'll give you a little peek, hinges very much on these plastic folders. I recently ordered this one, and it has kind of a quilted look, which isn't my favorite, but same thing. Stay put tab, 2-pocket, pocket and prong, 5-star mead folder. That's what that looks like with the label on. It has a pretty sturdy plastic cover, and it has this kind of thick binding that can expand to hold quite a lot. And the real catch here is the prongs or the brads that you can attach a lot in there. That's 3-hole punched. So it has kind of these sturdy folders or pockets on the sides, and then even a little plastic one that's about the size of an index card. So that and page protectors, plastic page protectors, is sort of the crux of my system. I don't love having a lot of plastic in my life, but this is sort of my capitulation to having some order in my life. So I do well with kind of visually streamlined, not having more to deal with at each moment than the sort of task at hand. And this is what my system is about. So I'll show you Tuesday. I have different colors to that end for each day of the week. And I've even found little, I'll show you in here, Post-it notes that match the colors so that I can flag books and have it be clear in just a glimpse which books we're going to be using each day. So I've got my lesson plans printed in that binder, and then I have my schedule. I make a very simple, sort of super streamlined schedule for each day of the week. And I have that on the first page here in a plastic page protector. So again, it's clipped in with these prongs. And what I like about this is it's not the timetable that is kind of visually overwhelming. I do have a timetable, but things change. Things change a lot in the life of a family. So like where I have the independent time with my 2 daughters at the end for their math and copy work and dictation, reading lessons, those were happening right after prayers and recitation at the beginning of the school year, but the baby's nap needed to change. And So I moved that around. I realized that movement happens best right before math for some of my kids, for my daughter. And so we've moved things around, and this system still works. It's not like I have to kind of throw it all out, which is why I'm still using this system. So I have this. You could easily use a dry erase marker or wet erase marker and check things off. I'm not in the habit of doing that, but I set it up so that I could. And then I take the lesson plans for these subjects that I'm going to be using on Tuesdays for only this term, and I pull them out of the binder and get them ready here. So I've got basically, I'll show you, a 2-page spread, like a left and right, for each of the subjects that we do that day. That means I'm only looking at solfa when I'm turned here. This is still in the page protector, so all of the plans for the term are kind of back in here. You can see that we're a little behind. I'm sorry, this is loose because I was filming a different a take earlier, and it's out. But so we're a little behind. We're finishing up term 2, even though I'm in the middle of term 3 in most other subjects. So when I am done with these, if we don't finish, then I'm not sweating it. We may kind of continue over the summer, or maybe just pick up where we left off at the beginning of next school year. But when I'm done with this, then I just kind of turn it over to get the rest of the year and stick this back in to get. But it's all here. It's ready to go. And at the beginning of each week, while I do my prep, which I'll talk about in a little bit, I adjust so that I can see where we are. So there's a different spread, but for each one. This is French, and I wanted to be sure that I had the typical lesson arc that was included at the beginning of the lesson plans for reference each week. So that's here, and then the lesson that we're on is over here. Here I have, sorry, once again, this is usually just in the plastic. This is U.S. history, and that's the next subject that we do on a Tuesday. When we're done with the end of the Cold War, which is the lesson that we're on right now, I'll flip it over, stick this in, and be ready to go. Sloyd, so before Sloyd we have nature lore, or stories from nature, and I have this for reference because we're doing the bumblebee readings. I can do different things based on what I want to be able to see during that lesson. If there's something that I printed out and we're going to be referring to for a few weeks on end, then it's here. But if there's sort of tips, questions that I want to be sure that I'm asking, or narration prompts, those are here ready to go. And then I have a placeholder, or I'll show you this first. I happen to get a very tiny copy of Histoire de Babar from used books online, and I'm able to tuck that in here along with the teacher and student guides, a few copies of them, and that's just part of what I can carry around really easily during that day. Over here, though, I have a placeholder for art. Art, of course, is one of these subjects that is happening more than once a week, so it needs to be movable. Therefore, you can see my cart. I feel like I'm a real homeschooler with this cart, which I got this year. But so I have white folders that I've used for the subjects that happen more than once a week. So this is art, geography, Latin, which we did a little early because it really has meant a lot to me to do. Scripture as well. Those are in here because they need to be movable. We do them twice a week, or we do them even more often than that. So I'll show you. I printed out, because there's sort of more content and a lot more available from the Alveary, I just included it in here. So I have all the lesson plans for the year here. One more subject we're behind in, but I clip where we are with a binder clip. I have the guiding questions that they provided so that I'm seeing those regularly. I have the whole copy from archive.org that I just printed out of the brush forms. It's not where we are, but it's clear and visible, again, in page protectors. If I wanted to add something else, then I would just stick it in here, and it's super easy to do. This was from the last lesson. I'm able to kind of include these here. Materials can fit in there. So what I do when I'm setting up my week is I just grab the art and I stick it in here where that thing is, and I've got everything I need other than the 2 books we'll be reading for a Tuesday ready to go. And so if I need to take this outside, get outside and do some of the readings, I've got the whole lesson plans at my fingertips still, and it is in a format that it is not going to get destroyed because it's pretty sturdy folder. I can take it to the living room with my baby and kind of keep him occupied on the floor as we keep going with narrations, and I'm not struggling to remember what subject do we do next and could we just be done. You may be wondering, however, what I do with the virtual or the hyperlinked aspects of the lesson plans. So what I do, you'll see here, these are the things that I wanted to print out. I have these printed out for U.S. history because we have this kind of scrappy looking chart of kind of different pictures from the year in modern history. Over there, we've been kind of adding to that timeline-ish assemblage as we continue our readings. So I want that ready to go. I printed that off, but other things I want to just take a quick look at on a phone or a computer. I use Evernote for those. I am not a super techie person. I have not done well with having, it's gonna come back here. I have not done well with having computers out for the whole day. And honestly, it's taken us a few years to kind of level up and actually use a lot of the linked virtual content. So what I do when I'm setting up the school year is I have, and that schedule that I showed you, I have a sort of companion to that using Evernote. I use Evernote for a lot of my life, and I just have a Tuesday note, and it at the beginning of the year would include the link to SoundCloud for solfa lessons. It would have the warm up for solfa. It would have a hymn, video for a dance that we're doing, the link to the skit for French. All those things are there just in the order that I do those things in the day. And as I'm prepping, I can see, we need to kind of add in this video that we're going to be using for geography from the National Park Service, or this, not video, but like a interactive map or something. That will just be hyperlinked into that same folder to say, this is happening on Wednesday, or this is happening on Thursday. Or this is a song that I want to sing, like to play them, that we'll add into whatever we have been learning in U.S. history or anything. Those can just get linked into the Evernote. And then if I'm, again, outside or in the living room on the floor as we continue our day, then I can pull it up on my phone. But we also can look at it on the laptop, because you can have Evernote up in however many places. It's pretty simple. I mean, I think that probably some of you have way more complex systems, and my kids are not using screens pretty much at all by themselves yet, and I'll have to figure out how I want to address that when that's time. Probably will share one Evernote account or something that I can put on multiple devices, that they can log into on multiple devices and still see those same things if I want them to see a certain picture or website along with a lesson. Again, that's something I do on, if ideally I might kind of set that all up as I'm setting up the school year or as I'm setting up the term, just kind of run through on the PDF what I'm going to want to link to. But I can also do that at the beginning of the week. I sort of jot things down as I'm reviewing. That's kind of the crux of it. Let me see. I'm going to do one more quick look here. I'll show you like a Wednesday. Same thing. I'll just show you another so you can see. These are for me to be able to distribute when we do our hymn. In here I have one copy under the plastic though for reference. Again, I can stick the whole French skit in here, 2 copies of it. This is the placeholder for geography, so when I'm setting things up, I just throw geography in here, and when the lesson is done, I put it in for Thursday when we'll do our next geography. So geography includes the maps. I've got in here all of the lesson plans, and then also the sort of travel readers that I want to be sure to get from the library when the library opens again, or that I have somewhere and I want to remember. I printed these out and put these in plastic because we're regularly referring to these maps that were included. And then this is how I printed out cross country from Best Value Copy a few years ago. So I have their travel journals and some more maps in here. Everything just fits in that folder. This is the chunkiest one, but it's just about an inch and a quarter or something. And so these expanding folders definitely hold it. And I can throw geography in there. Current events, I slip things in from the newspaper that we want to cover, just like that. And You can see all of these. When we're doing Pilgrim's Progress, we have a map that we like to refer to regularly. So you can do that for kind of the spread. But again, it's durable. You're only looking at one lesson plan at a time, kind of the current one. If we indeed have just all of the lesson plans on one page, then you could probably just check it off, again, with a dry erase or a wet erase marker. But all of these are available and clear, and again, in these back folders, I can stick the thinner books that we're using so that they're ready to reference. I have a white, it's in the other room, but I have another one of these white ones for scripture, and it has like a prayer that we pray at the beginning of the day. It has the daily readings calendar from our tradition for scripture readings that we want to cover as well. I've printed out different links, and those are available. Maps of Palestine are in there. What am I going to do, though, when my kids are doing some of their independent work? That's the big question. So my thought here's Friday. I bought, just a second, I bought a lot more of these folders. These ones are paper durable laminate. So these are a lot simpler and cheaper. The other ones are about $5, and I think these are like $2. But they still have the prongs. They're still pretty sturdy. My plan for the coming year is to have one of these for each of my students. And when we get to the part of the schedule where I have stuff that I'm going to have them do independently, those will all have a similar sort of pared down independent schedule that I'll stick in here, and those subjects can go in here. So it'll be so nice to print out the whole lesson plan on just one page and not feel bad about making multiple copies of it. And then I would just like stick those into the part of the day where we're going to be needing them, and I can distribute those for something like a century chart. That's an easy thing to just stick here so that it'll be available for them while they're doing their independent work, and for me to then see again at the end of the day or while I'm reviewing things. So, I mean, I think that's kind of all there is to it. It's pretty simple. Again, I print out a few things and have them available for just that lesson, but otherwise it's a 2-page spread for each subject that is ready to go, and I'll have these folders in a folder for the later subjects. Okay, so you know that I really like having this color system, and now you'll know that I'm a little more neurotic. These are the cool colors, and then each of my daughters has got a warm color. So I have a pink and a yellow and an orange. A lot of their materials, their binders, you can see these are my daughters' own schoolwork in here, and they have pink or yellow folders to keep track of things. And I have used colored copy paper for Right Start. So this is my daughter's work that I printed out of the digital version of the Right Start workbook, and her worksheets are all printed on a pink paper so that I can see them immediately and know whose those are. With 2 kids who are so close in age, there was a point earlier in the year where we were both working out of level C, and it was nice to know whose worksheets went with which kid. So I have this is the plastic acetate kind of folder that all of these go into. So let me show you that. Like, I have every day of the week kind of lined up easily. They all fit in here, and that holds them tied up here. I have my own journal. This has been indispensable. And then I spend a little bit of time when I'm setting up the week getting things queued up. It's not as tidy because we're in the middle of the week now. But whatever materials I'm going to need for Right Start, I get it queued up. I get the worksheets queued up. And then underneath here is my other daughter's work. Down here I have my nature journal things, and I have my reading lessons and English work. So stuff that we're doing every day is in here, except for the lineup of the folders, which is ready to pull out. Let's see, another organizational thing. It's a little sloppy here. I'll show you this for Right Start. I recommend spending a good chunk of time getting familiar with Right Start at the start of the year. I use this to organize the materials. I think it's an IKEA Malm sort of veneer file. Let's see, I'll show you. Like, I've got all of these in here, so I can just pull this out and stick it on the table when we're going to be working with the tiles. I have all the geometry things in here. Someone else in the Hive recommended ordering many extra copies of the basic number cards. And I have them set up for some of the games that we're regularly playing. In the enumerations, here's the money ones. I have them all the cards fit in here in one of these, but I've got them already set up with basic number deck without the tins. Or, here are the basic number deck ready for another game that we're regularly playing. The games are not happening in our house when I have to spend a lot of time reminding myself what cards I need for that game, or what I'm going to need to sit there and sort out all of the tens right before the baby kind of has a meltdown or something. So those are ready. I bought probably 4 sets of those so that I would be able to kind of have a big assortment of the games set. I also have this that I got from somewhere that I fill with like the place value cards and things like that when we're working on them. Because if you have the base number cards and the place value cards and all of that out, it can get a little overwhelming. So they go in different compartments when we're studying that. But we're not there right now. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else useful for me to say. I guess prep. I've told you what I do at the beginning of the school year, and I do the same thing, for each term, where I queue up the new set of the lesson plans for that term. I set up the links on Evernote. I just kind of clear things out that we haven't been doing. But I do try every week to have a little chunk of time on a Saturday morning where I'm also prepping. Often my husband is able to take the kids to the grocery store or go on a hike, and I get 2 hours to kind of clear things out and prepare for the next week. I realize that is a crazy luxury that some of you all might not be able to get into your week, but I guess that could happen in the evening. It feels like a real treat to be able to do it in morning light and with no one else around. I can see, and I definitely, earlier on when I was sort of new to it, I definitely needed a larger chunk of time. Right now I've kind of got it under control, but I may need to take longer and do a little more work each week to prepare for the week ahead when I'm doing new subjects for Form 2 and getting my head around some of those or doing some of the pre-reading. It does not happen every week. It really doesn't, and life gets in the way of that, and that's sometimes awesome. We're in a pandemic and my husband can't take the kids to the grocery store with him. Different things happen, but I find that I can go 2 weeks or so, 1 week without that and be fine because it's all here and ready to go in terms of what the lesson plans are for the next day. But I can't go much longer without a little bit of time to review and prepare, without the quality of our school days really going down. I just need to have my head in the game, and that helps me to do that. If I had all the lesson plans queued up and I was familiar with what we were going to be doing, I might take a little bit more time to look at something in the knowledge base or watch a webinar, read something that's kind of Alveary adjacent, like the mathematical mindsets or a book on geography. This is apart from my own reading and those subjects for my own interest, but more as an educator. Watch a video with John Muir Laws. Those are kind of awesome right now. There's a lot of them. Those sorts of things really set me up for success in the week. If I've had a chance to do a little diving into who the terms artist is before we start and have my own interest piqued in that, then I'm definitely a better teacher. So that's often a luxury in different stages of life. But the reflection goes a long way to making it work. Even if you've got your lesson plans figured out, I do need to kind of review them or know exactly where we're headed and right start for that little bit of time each week before the school week starts. And the bigger work comes at the end of the school year, or it comes at the beginning of the school year and in between terms. I do need to kind of keep my head in the math as well to make it go well. And when I do that, when I put in the time to really getting excited about teaching math, I am really excited about teaching math, and it goes well. Sometimes it doesn't go well no matter what, but that is my kind of take on organization, just sort of having the regular rhythm of start of the school year, start of the term, start of the week. With a baby, it's a little hazy on the start of the day, but ideally I would sort of cue things up very orderly at the beginning of the day, but that right now isn't always happening. I think I've rambled plenty long. I hope that seeing this helps you get a sense of maybe how different people take what the Alveary has to offer and put it in a format that works for them. I don't expect that this would work for everybody, but again, I entreat you to think about how to have a system that is open-ended enough that when life changes, it does not unravel the whole system. It's just a lot of iterating and making it a little better and changing things a little bit and tweaking them. And as that article, and if you've read I think on family life, PNAU article about swatting at midges, like the little things that don't work in your day, those take some effort, just kind of giving our attention to those things and figuring out how to make them a tiny bit better next week or a lot better next term. It's all a process. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. If anyone else wants to share what they are doing or what their tips are, I know I would benefit from that, and I'm sure that new members would as well. But if you're new, I'm excited that you are a part of the Alveary. I have loved the Hive and getting a sense of community and this thing that we are all enacting in our lives, often in a very kind of private way. So have a great day. I hope the end of your school year is a great one, and I look forward with all of you to prepping for next year. Thanks.